Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Del?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic.
We're putting it on wax?
And we putting it on wax.
We're putting it on wax.
Yes,
Jalen,
indeed.
What do?
Give the fine individuals that have consistently supported our fine program for at least 6 years. Exactly what they want, when they need it, exclusively on this podcast.
Of course, welcome to the Jalen Jacoby podcast. Even though we've completely sold out and have an hour-long television show at 2 p.m. on ESPN2, we will never stop giving the people what they want. We love our podcast listeners so much. We have plans for this podcast exclusive content. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to lean on interacting with you, our podcast listeners. So make sure you call 985-80-JALEN and leave us voicemails because we'll be incorporating your questions into this section of the podcast. Jalen Rose, a couple things. Number one, Draymond Green is out here on the internet streets talking about the Blazers. There's been a little bit of talk about Carmelo Anthony coming to the Blazers. And, of course, Lillard and McCollum says that if they get Carmelo, the Warriors need to watch out. And then Draymond responds with just laughing emojis. What do you think about this back and forth? Should the Warriors take the potential Blazers with Carmelo more seriously?
You would need to take him more seriously because here's a guy that's basically a future Hall of Famer, a 20-plus point scorer in New York. And while he proved, unfortunately, management and ownership had a lot to do with this as well, that he couldn't be the best player on the championship level team consistently, I do think being the third best player puts him in a position to be not only more efficient, but just as effective. And Lillard, as well as McCollum, they're an explosive backcourt, as we have in the game. And they get productivity up front, but it's been out of balance because it hasn't been the level of consistent productivity. And I love Nurkic. Now that they're going to have him back in the lineup playing the 5 spot, that would be a nice jolt to have a player like Carmelo, but not going to be able to do it. Those lights ain't bright enough for him.
He want to
play with the triple Bs, the Banana Boat Boys, either Chris Paul or LeBron James.
I do not see him signing with Portland, although it is nice to talk about. And I also love Nurkic, too. I love how he exploded. He felt like he was free from the Nuggets. The chains have been broken. He is no longer under Jokic, and he is just going to tear it up. Remember those first, 3 or 4 games when he was at Portland? He exploded. I look forward to him joining the Blazers next year and seeing what they can put together. However, I do not expect Carmelo Anthony to be on that team. We also have this. The Timberwolves are looking to sign Andrew Wiggins to an extension. They're trying to put something together to lock him up for another 3 or 4 years or whatever. Do you think that he should sign an extension to stay with the Timberwolves?
I do. And look no further than how they behaved this offseason. They severely upgraded their roster. Karl Anthony Towns already proved that he has what it takes to be a perennial all-star, get you around 20 points, over 10 boards, a couple of blocks, made 103-point shots from beyond the arc this past season. Superstar potential. You add Jimmy Butler, who's already been an all-star in his own right multiple times, a productive two-way player. Jamal Crawford, one of the best heat check reserves we have in the game, who can continue to be a productive player for a long time if they're able to retain him. So now if you're Wiggins, you become the most important part, especially playing on the perimeter. You've played with Tibbs already. I think this would be a good look for him. I would not be surprised if they retain him.
Neither would I. Another potential extension is a little bit more interesting. This is that of John Wall. It looks like the Wizards are trying to lock in Wall. They've got an extension on the table for him. It's a big extension. However, if Wall bets on himself and he does make All-NBA next year, he then becomes eligible for a super max deal. So if you are John Wall, who's also a Clutch Sports client, again, that means Rich Paul, which means LeBron James. If Rich Paul and John Wall get together, do you think they will bet on themselves and not sign until next year? Or will they take the something like $170 million that's being offered to him right now?
I wouldn't be surprised if he chose to bet on himself.
I would be shocked if he didn't. Why do you think that?
Under these circumstances, if you think about what just happened in Washington, I really like Bradley Beal, and I'm happy with the fact that he's now playing to his potential of a guy that could get you buckets in the regular season and the playoffs and then be a consistent 20-point scorer. He will be a future All-Star. And I've learned not to judge players by their contracts, but however, in the NBA, since it's a salary cap-driven sport, whoever takes a piece of the pie really matters. So now all of a sudden, you have Bradley Beal, John Wall, and Otto Porter all making $100 million.
They just signed Otto Porter to a very big contract that I'm not sure he deserved.
That makes you top heavy on the perimeter. You need Otto to become an all-star level player to validate the balance of the salary cap, because now all of a sudden you're going to lose productivity up front. And so if I'm John Wall, this team needs me to do a lot more. They need me to do exactly what I did last year if we're going to be in a position that we were. And he outplayed expectations last year. I would not be surprised if he bets on himself and goes after the Supermax.
Another side benefit of not signing the extension now, waiting until next year, is you put a little bit of pressure on the organization to put a team around you that's worthy of staying with. Because if he signs now, they're like, all right, we've got Wall locked up. We can figure out the rest of it later. But if Wall doesn't sign, there's a little bit of pressure on the organization to keep Wall happy, to maybe bring in, at the trade deadline, someone that got bought out, or make a real run at the Eastern Conference. Because right now they seem to be pretty solidified as the third seed in the Eastern Conference. Jalen Rose, the Cowboys' Cole Beasley, little receiver, had a nice year last year. Dak Prescott got on the ball. He said that Barry Sanders is the greatest of all time, and now he's upset his Cowboy faithful. I believe he went to the University of Texas. He should probably know better, right?
Not at all. He's speaking facts. Don't try to muzzle the man.
You really think Barry Sanders is the greatest of all time?
No.
Okay. That's all right.
They weren't, it wasn't my opinion that was getting questioned. It was his. Why all of a sudden when people have an opinion, it has to be PC? So now I'm a Cowboy, I got to be like, oh, Emmitt's the greatest. Tony Dorsett's the greatest. Like, that's being phony. If anything, by the way, these slot machine receivers, they owe Wes Welker some royalties.
Oh, Wes Welker wasn't the first. Wayne Corbett comes to mind. There's a lot of these sort of like little white dude receivers. They all end up on the Patriots somehow. They all end up on the Patriots.
I'm going to give you the legend in that category because you're not going to name him.
Let me think. Corbett is all that comes to mind in terms of the...
I got the legend for you.
Who started the movement?
Steve Largent.
Okay. He's the Seahawks, right? I remember him.
Rest in peace, Cortez Kennedy.
Shout out.
Finally, as we come to the end of the week, Jalen, our first week of the 2 p.m. time slot, I want you to give me the best thing and the worst thing about this new 2 p.m. time slot for Jalen Jacoby.
The best thing about being on at 2 p.m. is that people during the middle of the day can actually enjoy our program. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that have not gotten an opportunity to see it, different audiences, when you come on that late, you miss a major part of your audience. And those are the people that when I'm out, they're screaming, get the people what they want.
Shout out.
The thing that I dislike about it is that it has a shelf life.
Yep. We're only on for 3 more weeks.
Somebody said that you're only going to be on from one date to another date.
Yeah, there's a hard out. We're just holding the spot for Paul Feinbaum. I would say the best thing is that we get exposure to ESPN executives, and the worst thing is that we get exposure to ESPN executives. And I will just leave it at that.
Well, we had a couple of segments that's gotten scrapped already.
Hey, remember, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. We'll be incorporating your voicemails into every podcast next week. Let's give the people what they want. Unfortunately, it sounds like Hugh Freeze was trying to get what he wanted. Hugh Freeze has resigned as the head football coach at Ole Miss, following what school officials are calling, quote, a pattern of personal conduct inconsistent with the standard of expectations for the leader of our football team. By now, everybody knows exactly what they mean. They went through his phone records and found some calls to an escort service. Jalen Rose, should he be more careful with the millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line?
He got to hit up Tom Brady and figure out what to do with the phone when them allegations hit.
Didn't he see the wire? You need a burner phone. Hugh Freeze, you need a burner phone. But there's an interesting wrinkle to this is Houston Nutt, his predecessor at Ole Miss, is in a lawsuit with Ole Miss, and it was Houston Nutt's lawyer that actually got the phone records and gave them to the university, which eventually led to his resignation. Now, something tells me that this is not just a one-time thing. They said it was a pattern of behavior, and they said it was multiple calls. So something tells me that there's more to this than just, oh, I may have dialed this one number this one time by mistake. What do you think?
And unfortunately for Hugh Freeze, it seemed like Houston Nutt definitely had an axe to grind. Mm-hmm. His attorney continued to dig and prod, and he knew a pattern of behavior that took place, so he made sure he brought it to the mainstream. I think a few things make this a major issue, which led to him ultimately resigning / being fired, however you want to call it. Number one, they've already had some football-related allegations that he had to navigate, and that didn't cost him his job because they were really productive, playing SEC football, making it to 4 bowl games, beating Alabama twice. And so when your players continue to thrive and get drafted into the NFL, those football issues kind of got brushed to the side. But when the leader of your football program is actually dealing with escort services, and as you mentioned, not just one phone call, all of a sudden, especially as a married man, that becomes a major issue.
It does feel a bit like the straw that broke the camel's back. There's a long list of potential violations this program has had with payments from boosters and academic fraud, and just this long list of things. And it seemed like the university was ready to fight the fight for Hugh Freeze. But then once this came to light, the university is just like, you know what, enough. And I like that you made the distinction between resigning or getting fired, because they've basically forced him to resign. He's not getting paid any of the money they owe him, but they're basically like, look, man, there's 2 ways this can go. We can either fire you publicly, or you can say that you resign. But either way, you are out of here and we're not paying you a dime. Pivoting a little bit, let's take a look at Derrick Rose, who seems to be one of the few free agents still out there left taking meetings. And guess what? It looks like he will either go to the Cavs or the Lakers. The Bulls have been discussed, but it doesn't seem to be too serious of a proposition. What do you think the best fit is for Derrick Rose at this point in his tumultuous career?
First off, he ain't going back to Chicago. You ain't putting that toothpaste back in the tube. Mm-hmm. As far as it relates to going to the Lakers, the only way I see that as being a viable situation or the best one for him, if they were going to pay him substantially more money and give him an enormous opportunity to be the kind of productive player he was with the New York Knicks. I don't necessarily see that taking place. So if you are him, you have to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They will play more nationally televised games in the playoffs only than the Lakers will play the entire season. And so therefore, when you look at the roster of the Cleveland Cavaliers, primary ball handlers are who? Clearly LeBron James and obviously Kyrie Irving. Mm-hmm. People are going to compare adding Derrick Rose to adding Deron Williams, but he's a much better player at this point of his career. So because of that, I think he'll be productive, and I think he'll be a welcome fit.
I understand why a lot of people didn't watch Knicks games last year. I totally get it. But if you did tune into some Knicks games, Derrick Rose was pretty productive. Sure, he went missing for a couple games here and there. But, when he did show up to the games, I believe he averaged around 18 points. And that's a team that has Porzingis and Carmelo. It wasn't the same Derrick Rose. It will never be the same Derrick Rose. But Derrick Rose is still productive, and he can contribute, especially to a Cavs team that will definitely make the playoffs and will definitely go deep into the playoffs. And the Lakers team, which is on the fringe there. However, you did mention something that's important. The Lakers can offer more money, because that seems to be what he's weighing at this point. And I expect that we'll find out exactly where he lands by our Monday show. Remember, Monday, ESPN 2 p.m., not 2 a.m. And Derrick Rose's old teammate, Carmelo Anthony, is still doing everything he can to get to the Houston Rockets. Now, there is a report that he would waive his $8 million trade kicker if the trade involved the Houston Rockets. Jalen Rose, do you think that's worth it? He's saying, you know what? Keep your $8 million. Keep $8 million. Just get me to Houston.
I got to bring you behind the curtain on this one.
I've
seen that be discussed so much, and people are missing the forest for the trees. When you're playing in New York City, you're paying a higher rate in taxes. Well, you decide to go to the Houston Rockets, which is in the state of Texas, and you're making over $50 million over the next couple of years. You supplement that income, and in theory, it's okay for you to waive your trade kicker because you feel like, A, you're going to make up the money that way, and or B, you're going to play in a situation where you're happy on a better basketball team that's going to make the playoffs, so therefore it makes it all worth it.
Interesting. I completely didn't regard that. When we were talking about Chris Paul maybe staying in L.A. or going to Texas, there was this state taxes thing, and then you start getting through the weeds of how NBA players pay taxes. They end up paying taxes to whatever state they travel to. So if you go to a Nuggets game, you have to pay tax for Colorado. It's really confusing, but it ends up netting out that, obviously playing in Florida or Texas or a place without state taxes is better for you, but not as much better for you as you would imagine. But when your contract is the size of Carmelo Anthony's, you can certainly make up that $8 million. Good point, Mr. Rose. Yep. A Redditor took a picture of a Blaze pizza being constructed right here in Los Angeles inside the Staples Center. As we all know, LeBron James does not just endorse Blaze Pizza, he is an owner of Blaze Pizza. I believe he has about a 10% stake in this fast-growing fast food company. Jalen Rose, does this Blaze Pizza inside Staples Center guarantee that LeBron James will play for the Lakers?
It does not guarantee, but it shows you that the Los Angeles Lakers, Brash, Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, are going to do all of the little things that they can to make it a lot more comfortable for LeBron James. Shall he decide to consider leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I've said on wax, I anticipate this will be his final season plan there. Sorry to the fans of the Cavaliers, but he delivered on his promise. He said he was going to be the guy to deliver the chip to the land. He did it. He didn't sign a lifetime contract. So therefore, I would see all of these reasons why he's trying to grease the skids and or other potential suitors are trying to make it a lot easier shall he decide to exit.
I'm not a big fast food guy, but I tried Blaze Pizza. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Happy Friday to everybody out there. It's almost the end of the week. Enjoy yourself this weekend. JJ Redick recorded his free agency decision, his free agency saga, as he was being wooed by different teams. He did it all for Uninterrupted, which is connected to LeBron James. LeBron James stays winning. It seems like LeBron James is involved in every single story we do on this show every single day. It's not even intentional. But I watched the documentary. It was 15 minutes long. It was well worth your time. JJ Redick is a very articulate and intelligent and emotional man, and he really takes you behind the curtain like Jalen Rose does so often. Let's give a listen to what he said about his experience with the Clippers in the last season.
It's shitty to say this, but I think I've had a loss of joy. I look at our team and how we play, and it's just, there's no joy in it. That bothers me.
Jalen Rose, take us behind the curtain. How can you be in the NBA, on a professional basketball team making millions of dollars and experience a loss of joy?
There's one word to go with joy when you flipped a coin.
Ooh.
It's called expectation.
Oh, I think I'm going to say joy and pain. Sorry.
Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, huh? So here's the thing that happened to the Los Angeles Clippers. Of a team that's won at the level that they did for a handful of years or so, they're the only one not to make it to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at the history of a franchise that also has never made it to that point, clearly has never made it to the NBA Finals or won a championship, there now becomes the level of expectation that, wait a minute, we supposed to be better than San Antonio? They got Kawhi Leonard. Oh, they just had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and then here come the Golden State Warriors. Remember the Golden State Warriors and Clippers called themselves rivals?
Yeah, I do.
And before you know it, the Golden State Warriors have won 2 championships and won 73 games. So I think that level of expectation made the Clippers, who just think about it like this. A couple of seasons ago, Chris Paul was an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Griffin's been an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Last season, DeAndre Jordan was an all-star. Not too many teams can say that in consecutive seasons, to have different players make the all-star game. J.J. Redick, not one of those players, but at the same time, an important cog to what they did. They weren't able to meet expectations. And when you're not able to do that, it's not as fun as it seems.
I always revert back to the wisdom of the podfather, the great Bill Simmons. And he goes to a lot of Clippers games, and he always sensed the tension on the team. And it feels like as the people start to leave and we get to hear these little subtle, sub-tweety kind of comments come out, that I think there may have been legitimate tension between the players on this team and the different little cliques. Do you think I'm reading too much into this?
I think you're reading too much into it, because had they met expectations, they'd all be slapping each other on the backside and talking about how great of a run it was. DeAndre Jordan, as a free agent, was going to bounce.
Mm-hmm. He tried.
But everybody wanted him to come back, correct?
Yep.
So they did everything they had to do
Got some
to make
barbecue.
sure he come back. So that doesn't sound like a team that, quote-unquote, doesn't like one another. It just sounds like a team that fell short of expectations. And also, their roster has been flawed in a lot of ways. I look at their team in an era where most of the productive or successful teams have multiple players between, say, 6'6" and like 6'9" that can actually make a play for themselves, make a play for their teammates, and defend multiple positions.
Mm-hmm.
So late in games for the Clippers, you would have a small backcourt in Chris Paul and J.J. Redick, and the third guy a lot of times was somebody like Jamal Crawford, who's a terrific scorer, but he's slender. And so now how are you going to beat LeBron James, KD, and the other players that are swing players when you never addressed the fact that you truly didn't have a small forward? Now you lose JJ. Now you lose Chris Paul, and guess what? They go get a small forward, Danilo Gallinari. What a time to be alive.
As we all anticipate the Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather spectacle, I'm not even going to call it a fight, the spectacle that will come at the end of August. Here is someone who's not so excited about this upcoming fight, and that someone is Oscar De La Hoya. Here's what he had to say, quote, Floyd and Conor's motivation is clear. It's money. In fact, they don't even pretend it's not. But it's also a lack of consequences for when the fight ends up being the disaster that is predicted. After this fight, neither of them will need us anymore. Floyd will go back to retirement, presumably for good this time, with another 9-figure paycheck, and Conor will go back to the UFC. Is De La Hoya salty that he's not involved in this fight? Or does he have a point that this fight is not about boxing, it's actually bad for boxing?
Both.
Okay.
And they don't have to be mutually exclusive. What he's saying about this being a money grab is exactly right.
It is.
Seriously. Like, I wish for this fight that Floyd Mayweather, as he entered the ring, could debut the Harriet Tubman 20s. That's how much money that is involved in this fight, to the point where we understand it is about the buck. And that is accurate, because Conor McGregor has zero chance to beat Floyd Mayweather. Got his 49-0, a defensive wizard, and Conor coming out of being an MMA fighter, now trying to box in a boxing ring. He has no chance. So the enthusiasm is going to come from tweets. It's going to come from the press conference. It's going to come from the pregame hit, from the intros. It's going to come from who's singing the national anthem. But also, here's the other thing they did that I know that irks Oscar. Because their fight happens first on the 26th, it really undercut the popularity of really the major fight that's taking place in boxing this summer.
Best fight of the year. Best matchup that I've seen in a long time. Obviously, we're talking about Triple G and Canelo, which is coming in early September, I believe. But that will be a big fight, and I'm excited for that fight almost equally as I am for the McGregor-Mayweather fight. Another thing is, I would pay more than $90 for McGregor-Mayweather. Like, I would. I wonder what the number is where I would be like, no, I'm not paying that. Like, it's a high. I would pay $200 for that fight.
And also, lastly, Oscar, the public isn't as smart as you think. When you get an opportunity, put the remote control in your hand. There's so many reality shows.
What?
There's so much dumbed down television.
Don't talk about my dumb television. Jalen Rose, sorry. I side with America. I side with popularity. I side with all of the people that love reality television. You're in the minority, my friend. Let's move on. Now that he's been paroled, it seems like O.J. Simpson will be a free man, or semi-free man, a parolee in October 1st. What do you think will happen next for Orenthal James Simpson?
You just alluded to it. You ready for this? OJ reality show.
I can't imagine
OJ
that.
podcast.
Someone has to get into his ear and be like, OJ, give the people what they want, and they don't want you right now. Nope. You know, like someone has to get in his ear.
You thought you saw a lot of OJ when he was doing his parole hearing or when he was at his double murder trial? You're going to see even more of him because of exactly what we're talking about right now. The situation has been so dumbed down that we need a shovel. So somebody like O.J. Simpson has no problem finding a way to make a buck in front of our televisions, in front of our radios. I know that a lot of people, including myself, wish he would go hibernate, live in another country, and just find a way to hopefully reinvent himself, Sammy Sosa style. But I don't think he's going to do that.
All I know is that whoever picks him up, whoever pulls up while he comes outside of that high fence with the barbed wire on top, they better be driving a white Bronco. They have to be driving a white Bronco. They have to. I think OJ would find that funny too. Like whoever it is going to pick him up, you gotta get a white Bronco. Finally, the most important story that we will touch on today. In Florida, a family had a gift from the heavens. 15 pounds of pork in 5 separate bags ended up landing on their lawn, landing on their roof. Their whole house was just strewn with meats. Jalen Rose, if it looked good, would you throw that meat on the grill and eat it?
Bacon business for the entire hood.
Definitely.
You kidding me? Absolutely.
Definitely.
Everybody that got a barbecue grill, come and get some of this.
I'm looking it over, and if it doesn't look gray or there's nothing I'm smelling it, I'll be like, oh, they put seasoning on this? Like, I don't care where it's from. It's from an airplane, whether it's from aliens, whether a bird was carrying it, if someone threw it at my house. I don't care what it is. If it's a nice piece of pork, I'm definitely putting on the grill and eating it and inviting people over.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Jalen Rose, it is time for our favorite segment. It's time for Soft Move or Boss Move. First, we start with a parolee board member at OJ's hearing. A gentleman by the name of Adam Endel. He rocked his Kansas City Chiefs tie while deciding the fate of Orenthal James Simpson. Soft move or boss move, repping your squad while doing a very serious job.
Soft move.
Yes.
Have a little professional protocol, okay? Like, this man just did 9 years. Could have potentially did up to 33 years. The entire world is watching. You have 4 people whose decision hinges on his future, and you want to make it about you? I don't like that move at all.
I don't like it at all. You know what else I don't like? I've never understood the black suit, black button-up tie look. If you're not going to a funeral, it never works. And I also feel like he did it intentionally just to show off the tie. If he had a white shirt and a blue suit, the tie wouldn't get noticed as much. But here's Adam. Adam's like, oh, I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be on TV. Let me just get my outfit together so I can rep my Kansas City Chiefs. Like, come on, Adam. Like, this is a serious job. Like, you're not a bank teller. You know what I mean? You are a parolee board member. You are deciding whether or not someone is going to walk free in this country. Like, take it a little bit more serious. It's not time for you to show off your love for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Speaking of showing off, the last parolee wanted to make it about her, too. She went on her long monologues.
She did. She kept saying, if I grant.
Possibly.
And OJ Stanton is like, come, like, we know what you're going to say, okay?
Right.
Just get there. Just get there. She did add a little dramatic tension to the moment, though, which I appreciated. You know I love drama. Nate Robinson is back. He's back on Instagram. He's dunking. He's got windmills. He's throwing alley-oops to himself. And he's tried to play football last year. He tried to get back in the league this year. He wants to play for the Cavs. He said that he would play soccer. He said that he would play for free. Soft move or boss move, keeping your athletic dreams alive.
Boss move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because more importantly, he's staying in shape.
Sure is.
At 5'9", a 3-time dunk champion that can still elevate, that can still be explosive, a guy that's been a mercurial athlete that's played a long time in the NBA, that can even attempt to try out for the Seattle Seahawks, truly impressive.
It is impressive. And he said he's 33. I was like, oh, he's still got it. You know, he's still got it. I would love to see him sign to an NBA team. I would love to see him just work his way back through the G League, kind of like that Baron Davis did for the Sixers. I would love to see that from Nate Robinson. Give this guy a chance because he's so much fun. I love Nate Robinson.
I got a gig for him.
Ooh.
Ice Cube's Big 3.
Oh, he's got bigger dreams than that. That's his fallback. That's his safety school. That's his next summer plan. He's like, hey, if I don't get the Jerry West on my chest this year, I'll take Ice Cube. Next. Ray Allen. There's been a lot of talk about Ray Allen and how he left the Celtics to go to the Heat. This has kind of bubbled up a lot recently. So he's just posting on Instagram, and all these Celtics fans are flooding his IG, telling him what a traitor he is and what a snake he is. And then he claps back at all the haters and responds to them, which leads to a bigger picture soft move or boss move questions. Clapping back at haters on social media. Soft move or boss move?
In 2017, soft move.
It's a soft move. I agree.
Yep. I've been that guy, Ray. Trust me. And initially, I did it to actually create a reputation. Because when you join social media and you're a public figure, you got to make people think that you're not having it. So in my eyes, I wanted to make sure everybody thought I was the Bill Russell or Dikembe Mutombo of Twitter. You even thought about saying something about me, I just blocked you. Okay?
You blocked thousands of people on Twitter. Thousands.
No question. That was initially. But to be honest with you, over the last 2 or 3 years, I probably shouldn't put this on wax.
And we putting it on wax.
I haven't blocked anybody. Because that level of energy that I'm spending to do that, I learned that I can be giving a shout out to somebody that's giving me love.
Exactly. I have never, ever intentionally blocked a Twitter user in my life. But I will now because they'll see that and they'll start hating on me even harder. Next, people were hating on Jason Day for wearing Air Jordan 1 golf shoes at the British Open. Which leads to this. Soft move or boss move, converting high-top basketball sneakers into golf shoes.
You left out the most important point that makes this a boss move. He's getting paid for it.
Oh, okay.
How many people are walking around with shoes on right now for free? High tops, low tops, mid cuts, slides, sandals,
Not too many.
shoes.
Not too many. There's a part of me that sees this and it's like, let's not try to look cool while you're golfing. You know what I mean? Like let's not try to let's not get the Air Jordan high tops involved into this whole golfing look because he did look a little bit silly with them on. That being said, Air Jordan 1s are the only Air Jordans that I will wear, and if I happen to get a free pair, I would definitely wear them every time I hit the links.
And I gotta respectfully give a compliment to two people. Michael Jordan and LeBron James in everybody's pockets. Like, people think they just show up and it's an accident. When you see one of those guys It's either a business interest and or they getting paid. And I ain't mad at it at all.
Now, we've been doing this show for 6 years, and early on in the show, we celebrated the life and the artistic work of someone by the name of Halle Berry. Especially you, Jalen Rose. You were very appreciative of her work. However, we did have the Halle Burial, where we did that whole thing, but Halle Berry is back in the news, and she is absolutely crushing it at Comic-Con. While all of her co-stars in The Kingsman took one shot while they were on a panel at Comic-Con, Channing Tatum poured Halle Berry a full glass, like a goblet of whiskey. Halle Berry took down the entire glass of whiskey in front of the Comic-Con crowd. I did not test this. I didn't take it to the lab to make sure it was whiskey, but it sure looked like whiskey, and it was like a solid 5 ounces. Soft move or boss move, chugging an entire glass of whiskey.
That's a boss move.
You sure?
It is. Here's
sure?
why. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I can't and don't do it.
Oh, you would never. You would never. You wouldn't even take a sip. I guess it's a boss move, but you know what? I see that, and I get concerned about the rest of her day. I'm like, I hope she didn't have any press requirements. I hope this is the last thing that she had in her schedule. I hope maybe she was getting driven back to Los Angeles and she could just sleep, because it looks cool when you're there at Comic-Con and you're on the panel and you drink the whole thing, but like in an hour and a half, I'm not sure it looked that cool. You know, but shout to her, because I would never drink a full glass of whiskey, and by never, I mean I'm lying. Next, this drive-by dunk challenge thing is kind of gaining a little bit of steam. And if you're not familiar with it, it's basically you drive down the street, you got a basketball, you see a driveway basketball hoop, you stop your car, you run up, you dunk on it, you run back in your car, you drive away. I don't really understand exactly what we're accomplishing with all of this as a species, but whatever. Now we have Anthony Davis, who is also involved. He pulls up, and he is doing the drive-by dunk contest. Jalen Rose, what do you think about the drive-by dunk contest? Challenge, I mean.
Soft move. Here's why. And it continues to show how, as a public, we can be so gullible. When Anthony Davis gets out the vehicle, don't you guys see he has a Red Bull in his hand?
Well, he takes a swig and then puts it back and then goes and dunks on an 8-foot hoop. Like I know Red Bull gives you wings and everything, but Anthony Davis, you're a professional basketball player who's 7'3", and the hoop is 8 feet tall.
Can't you clearly tell the car was parked, that home was designated for him to go do that? That was not a random act at all, number one. So therefore, because it was premeditated, I have to say it's a soft move.
It is a soft move. However, boss move, I always love those driveways that are big slabs of concrete with grass in between. I've always had an affinity for those. That is a boss move. Finally, the most important has been saved for last. There is a Texas coffee company that's had to recall all the coffee beans that they've been selling around the nation because they contain a chemical that is also found as the active ingredient in Viagra. What? Pun intended, soft move or boss move, recalling your Viagra coffee from the nation.
I think that's a soft move. You got to let that stay out there.
You got whoever made that discovery just needs to keep it quiet. Just let the world enjoy that coffee. And next thing you know, your sales are going to go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Another pun intended.
It makes sense. I've been drinking a lot of coffee lately. I wonder what it was.
Jalen Rose, the very first time we recorded this podcast 6 years ago, you bursted into song. What'd you sing?
Give the people what they want.
And it has been our motto, our founding philosophy ever since. So right now, we're going to give the people what they want.
Got to give the people what they want.
The way that we give the people what they want is we look at our Twitter feed and get questions there. We go to our subreddit and look at the posts and get questions from there. And we listen to our voicemails. If you call 985-80-JALEN and leave us a voicemail, we'll play it on the show just like this.
Hey, what's going on? Jalen Jacoby. Do you think O.J. Simpson saw the O.J. Made in America documentary, or do you think he will in the future? Keep giving the people what they want. I'm a person.
Well, they're a person, so we have to give them what they want. They want to know if O.J. watched ESPN's Oscar-winning film, Made in America. I think yes, but I also think it got real awkward during certain scenes. Like, I think that there was a group of people. They made a little night of it. It's a medium security prison. They have access to ESPN and such. But I think it got real awkward during certain scenes. Let's just say.
100% yes. OJ seems to be consumed with OJ.
That's right.
Absolutely, he saw it. No question about it.
And when they played some of those recordings of her calling 911, he was like, "That's not me. That's not me. No, that's not me. That's not me. That wasn't me. That's not real. They must have doctored that. They definitely doctored that. That wasn't me." How many times have you watched your 30 for 30 or Fab Five? Be honest.
I've seen it maybe 20 times.
Perfect. Next, we're going into our subreddit. Our subreddit is on reddit.com/r/Jalen and Jacoby. It's a community of people that we go into and communicate with and enjoy. Thank you to everybody that's part of that community. First, this is from a lurker on the loose. Soft move or boss move, dipping your pizza in ranch. His best friend runs a pizza shop and gets heated when customers dip their pizza in ranch. Is he overreacting, or is this really that soft of a move?
I have no problems with it. I've done it before, just off muscle memory, but usually it's not something I partake in.
I have found that this is somewhat regional. Being someone who's from Massachusetts and New York City, this was never even proposed to me as a possibility. However, when I moved to Los Angeles about 3 or 4 years ago, this was proposed to me that someone takes a pepperoni pizza, dips it into ranch, and then eats it. And I'm willing to try anything. I gave it a try. I did not want to like it. I really did not want to like it. It is fantastic, especially if the pepperoni has a little bit of spice and the ranch sauce cools it down. Totally fantastic. But I also want to talk to Lurker on the Loose's best friend that works in the pizza place. I worked in a pizza place too, dude. Here's the thing. You make the pizza, you give it to the customer, you're done with it. I don't care what you do with the pizza. You give me the money, I give you the pizza. It's your pizza now. You can defile that pizza however you would like. I can care less. Like, he needs to relax a little bit.
You're catching too much feelings behind it.
Like, you're working in a pizza shop, man. This is not an emotional situation. Just make the pizza, get the money, keep it moving. Next, we're going to our Twitter feed. This is from Goran. Goran hits us up a lot. Shout to him. He's one of our everyday listeners.
Shout out.
He says, what would LeVar do if Lonzo started dating one of the Jenners? The curse is real. Run.
He wouldn't be having it. He'll stop it from day one.
Ooh, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? LeVar Ball wouldn't enjoy the publicity, would he? LeVar Ball doesn't like attention, does he? LeVar Ball wouldn't like the power of the Jenner Kardashian clan to elevate the value of the Big Baller brand. LeVar wouldn't like any of that, would he?
He's already been on wax basically stating it's an insult when people try to compare the Ball family to the Kardashian family, because Lonzo Ball actually was an NBA draft pick that's playing himself into his celebrity, versus the Kardashian. We know how their situation started.
The Kardashians are just playing themselves. Next, you showed up on the show fresh off of vacation early this week.
I need a vacation.
No, you don't need a vacation. You've taken enough. You showed up on the show just all hair not done, goatee unkempt. You just kind of looked a mess, which is why I believe Brian on Twitter hit us up and said, where can I send Jalen Rose a free Dollar Shave Club kit?
Oh, free? ESPN, LA Live Studio.
See, here's the thing. You will take anything for free. Just earlier this week, you said that you've never shaved in your life, but now you want this man to buy razors and send them to you. Like, that's what I don't understand. Like you will love anything free. You can send Jalen Michigan State gear. You can send Jalen anything, Chris Webber jerseys, anything, and he will just rock them as long as they are free. Why would you take free razors when you've never, ever shaved once in your whole entire life?
I learned to be a beacon. So therefore, I get the goods and I regift them.
Oh, okay.
To others.
Okay.
Who can properly use them.
I've been the beneficiary of a lot of that regifting sometimes. So I can't complain about that too much. It is nice that we are the same size.
I know one thing. I was in my ESPN cubicle and I noticed somebody stole my coffee cup that I got from the ESPYs.
Oh, I didn't steal the coffee. I did steal that Gucci jacket, though. I don't know about the coffee cup, but that satin Gucci jacket, they might be in my house right now. Finally, remember, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you leave us voicemails, and we play them on the show just like this.
Hey, what up, Jalen Jacoby? This is Theo from the Bay Area. Two-part question. What is the fixation on OJ? It's been 20 years. There's been a lot of damage. Why do we keep being interested in the O.J. Simpson story? And the second question, does our interest in his life and his story help us as a nation to move forward? Keep getting them checks. Got to give the people what they want. Peace out.
Ooh, two pretty loaded questions that we could probably discuss for hours and hours, but let's try to make it succinct. I will say this to Theo, and especially to our younger audience that listens or watches that's below the age of, say, 28. The O.J. trial was so impactful on this country. It completely stopped the entire country. It was the sort of like onset of the reality television age where we peel back the curtain on everything. Like, this stopped our country for months. It was all anybody talked about in the news, all anybody talked about at the barbershop, all anybody talked about at dinner. It completely captured the nation. So those of us that experienced that still holds that power over us where we cannot help to watch, whether it is positively or negatively affecting us.
A couple of things real quick. One, you have athlete/celebrity, which equals money and fame. And those are things our society gravitates to more than anything.
Of course.
You had an interracial couple with a Hall of Fame player who allegedly committed a double murder, possibly got away with it, depending on who you ask.
Possibly.
The evidence I saw, if I was in the jury, I would have said that he was guilty, but I wasn't called to participate. And after that situation happens, instead of him showing a level of humility and just going away, you see other footage of him obviously enjoying his life, doing certain things that were really questionable, and then getting into another situation that landed him 9 years in jail where he possibly could have done 33. So the O.J. stories are going to continue. As he gets a radio show, as he gets a podcast, he's going to be in our face for public consumption because you just said it. That was the birth of reality TV.
I think we did a great job answering his first question. To answer his second question, has O.J. helped him? I simply say no. Thank you so much for watching Jalen Jacoby all week on ESPN2 at 2. We'll be back on Monday if we don't get canceled over the weekend.
I got some 313 phones you can use, Hugh.